Yo, Pete.
Yo.
Are you equipped?
Equipped and minted. Equipment. It.
All right. I'm Adam Maness.
And I'm Peter Martin.
And you're listening to the You'll Hear It podcast.
Daily jazz advice coming at you.
Coming at you today. Today's episode is sponsored by the Oxford American. The Oxford American is an amazing cultural resource that we're so happy to be have become our charter sponsor here on the You'll Hear It podcast. And we've heard from some of our listeners that have purchased subscriptions that they're really digging it. It really is. The writing is incredible, and the subject matter is, I think, incredibly applicable to what jazz musicians are trying to do, because it deals with a lot of roots music. And when you're dealing with roots music from the perspective of great writers,
yes,
who are, for the most part, from the South and who have been steeped in that culture, then it makes it even more special, even more like immersive.
Yes, and I think in this day and age of so much information flying around in every direction, much of it good, much of it bad, to have a curated source for us to go to in a beautiful package, beautiful physical package, and online. I've been checking out their online stuff lately on my iPad. I have an iPad mini from about 2001. I didn't know if you knew that.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah. But, to have this organization and the editors there that have kind of curated the subject matter and the writers, and it's just like you can go there and you don't have to think, wait, am I missing out on something? You're going to learn something. You're going to be entertained. And I think your playing and your conception is going to be for the better.
Agreed.
Yep.
So go to oxfordamerican.org/YHI. That's oxfordamerican.org/YHI, as in you'll hear it, and you can get some special deals.
Yeah.
So today we're talking about equipment. Why are we talking about equipment?
Well, because we have a question. We have actually a slew of questions because we solicited some last week. Do you remember that? I know you're usually like a real move on kind of guy.
Yeah. I usually forget everything as soon as I say it. But we did solicit. We kind of shamed our listeners into giving us some more voicemails, some more speak pipes if they go to, I
wouldn't say shame. I would call it an invitation.
I was trying to shame.
An invitation to excellence.
So
I don't know what that means.
The goal was, I thought maybe we can get a whole week of speak pipe voice messages.
I think we got more than that.
We didn't. We only got 3.
Only 3 good ones.
But we need more.
Yeah.
Everybody, we need more. So keep them coming. But we do have 3 great questions this week from our listeners. So if you have a question, if you have a comment, if you just want to call and complain.
Right. You can go to you'llhear.com/podcast and leave the message there. We're also thinking about taking some video questions because we've been blowing up on the YouTubes. I don't know if you knew about that.
I mean, that's a relative term.
In theory, our wonderful producer, Andrew, could get this question. So if you can figure out a way to get video to Andrew at openstudionetwork.com, which is not going to be that hard, feel free to leave a question via video. But let's jump into...
He looks worried. Andrew looks worried over there.
He'll figure it out. He'll hear it.
So let's hear our question. This is from Terry.
Hey, Peter and Adam. New listener here, loving your podcast. Had a question. I'm a mid-level amateur piano player, formerly a drummer from childhood. But I'm doing gigs on stage with piano, and I know you can't really get into endorsing products. I'm assuming that. But I was wondering, can you talk about what you each gig with? What type of equipment, keyboards or a keyboard that you like, and why? I'm kind of looking at different keyboards that I've either been using and brands, etc., and I'd be interested to know what you like and have an understanding of why, which might be helpful to me as I'm learning what I should have when I sit on stage as well. Thank you so much. Keep doing the great work you're doing. Enjoying it. Thank you. Bye.
All right, that's a great question, Terry.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Terry.
And very cool that you've transitioned from drums to a real instrument. That's
came over from the dark side,
awesome.
Just like Darth Vader.
Yeah.
No, just kidding.
Yeah.
Love you, drummers.
That's right. No, but
actually, we've been talking to quite a few. I'm just trying to place where, and Open Studio members too, a lot of drummers come into piano later on in life and stuff, which is a really cool thing. And some of them really good.
I think it makes sense. I think the two instruments actually work really well together, and there's some kind of bridge between them. I haven't figured it out yet, but I'm attracted to the drums, as I know you are.
It's a bridge over troubled water, I would say.
I have a drum set in my basement that I like to fool around with, and I think it's important for any musician to learn the drums, and any drummer to learn piano. But anyway, to your question, Terry. Okay, so this is something we've kind of talked about, but for me, and I know what your answer is on this too. It's like preferred is the Steinway D.
The Steinway D.
If we can
German, if not possible, we will go with New York.
I mean, if we're forced to.
I mean, we're big fans of the acoustic piano. We're not necessarily purists for it though, but it does depend on the type of gig. I mean, if it's a trio gig, or just a really straight ahead jazz gig where you don't really need that other palette of maybe a Rhodes or some synth sounds, it's great to have a piano. Now, obviously, we can't bring a piano with us, so that's when we get into a situation where you might want to do a gig or get a chance to do a gig somewhere that doesn't have a piano. Or we could also talk about, what about if there's a substandard acoustic piano? Like, how do you make the decision whether or not you're going to bring a keyboard in? When is it like better to just at least have your rig and know what you're dealing with?
For me, it's almost always better to have the acoustic piano. I mean, I keep like a tuning kit in my car basically, so that any piano I encounter, if it has a lot of unisons or if it's really bad, I can actually spend 20 minutes on it and kind of get it as close to where I want it as possible.
And how did you learn to do that?
Just by doing it and messing up a lot of pianos.
You learn on your own though.
Yeah, like some YouTube videos. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's good for folks that I want to do that. And
I mean, you know me, because I've done this with you. I'm not afraid to annoy a person with questions about what they're doing. So every piano tech that I come in contact with, I'm like, how should I do this?
That's cool.
And you watch them, So that's one thing, is you can get, for like $35, you can get like a decent tuning kit with a wrench and all the stuff you need.
Yeah.
And it's pretty self-explanatory, but you can also watch these videos. And then, for me, and I don't know, I know you're not a big like vintage keyboard guy, although I do see you eyeing the vintage vibes.
Oh, I'm all about the vintage vibes.
So
and Terry, by the way, we absolutely can and will name. We've already named a couple brand names.
Totally,
and we'll invite the companies that we are talking positively about to come and endorse the show here. That'd be great. Sponsor
vintage vibe. We're on. We're on. No, but so for years when I played in the Marvelous Aaron Bodie's band, I just brought a suitcase Rhodes with me everywhere.
The one that's sitting right over there.
The one that's sitting right over here in our studios. And I also have a Wurlitzer electric piano. That's kind of my go-to rig right now, is the Whirly.
Yeah.
I don't mind not having the piano sound. I'd rather have a hammer hitting something.
Exactly.
That's my
that's
personal
great.
preference.
I mean, I actually grew up, a lot of my early gigs were on a very similar Rhodes suitcase model that, I mean, even before I was like driving and stuff, I'd make my sister or my mom, whoever I could get to give me a ride, throw it in the back of the Datsun.
There you go.
What?
Yeah.
But I mean, that the Rhodes is such a great and fun instrument. And so now normally I can't remember a gig I've done recently where I just played the Rhodes, but I've had Rhodes, supplementing the piano on a lot of gigs, depending on the material especially as well.
Yeah.
Although, the vintage vibe is so close.
It's so close.
And
good.
It's so good. Yeah. So those of you that aren't familiar with that, Vintage Vibe is a great company out of New Jersey, and they make several different instruments, but their main thing is they started out, I believe, fixing, and they still do a lot of repairs and refurbishments and kind of mods of Fender Rhodes and Whirlies and organs too.
If you own any vintage keyboards, which I own several, you're always on there because you're always trying to fix them.
Yeah, and they got parts too, right?
So you buy parts and you watch videos of how to fix them. Yeah. But they do have their own electric piano that they build and for sale, and it's killing. I mean, it just sounds amazing.
And then didn't some company buy the Rhodes name?
I haven't played one of those, but I heard they're a little suspect.
I think if you want a less maintenance, I don't know if they're maintenance free, nothing's maintenance free, but a less maintenance than an old Rhodes from the 70s or early 80s, the Vintage Vibe is the way to go.
But the reason why I prefer a Rhodes is because there's a hammer hitting something, and it's because you can control the sound in a live situation. I think more than any live piano or keyboard piano sound that I've played live.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I know I've seen you play as a secondary instrument, usually to a grand piano, a Nord.
Yes.
For electric piano sounds.
Yep.
I have a Nord as well.
Yep.
I
have an Electro?
I have a Nord piano, but the Electro is like the smaller version of that.
Yep.
And those work, but even when I get on a gig with that, I usually put it on a Rhodes sound.
I know, because it's better than the piano sound.
I know.
Generally.
Yeah.
And then, I remember playing like the Nord lead years ago, like in the 90s when it first came out, the original one.
Wow.
I remember seeing Michelle Indeggiocello playing that thing, like bass lines on it. Like she was playing bass and killing. And then she went over for some sounds, and like I fell in love with that instrument. Then there was like the Nord lead 2, and then they got into more and that was a lot of vintage synth sounds on there.
Yeah.
Then the piano, the electro, which kind of combined a lot of them, and then really strong for organ. If you don't want to have the whole organ rig, the B3 kind of situation.
Yeah.
Because then the piano, maybe the piano, but the electro has the drawbars.
The electro has the drawbar. I have an electro. I had an electro for a long time. And yeah, that has really good organ sounds.
Yeah.
But
and though, for live, since Terry's asking about live situations in particular, I think it is important when you're playing any kind of, you can always just get a really good controller and then have a laptop and you could have every Nord sound, every Moog sound, a Rhodes, a sampled Bose, whatever you want, and just trigger it off of there.
Yeah.
But I always find, and I know a lot of people do that successfully.
Yeah.
To me, like having something that you don't have to fidget with too much and that's kind of dependable, like the Nords have like never let me down, like they've never crashed like my laptop has.
Yeah. They feel okay.
They feel okay. Yeah. They're not.
My piano feels better than the electro for sure.
And the vintage vibe feels better, and the Rhodes.
The Rhodes feels better.
Yeah.
Anything, like I said, well, some Rhodes are terrible.
Yeah.
But anything with an actual hammer hitting either a string or a tine.
Yeah.
Is preferred for me.
I've had a lot of the Motif series.
Well, I was
going to
say,
years.
you see a lot of people play the Yamaha, the Motifs, and you see a lot of people prefer, especially for piano stuff, the Roland.
Yeah. And I just don't know those boards as well.
Yeah, I'm not super hip on the Roland when I have played them. I just don't. They feel too it feels too mechanical.
The Yamaha weighted action Motif is, I haven't actually played it in years, but I always enjoyed that action. Maybe it's because it was a Yamaha thing, and it was super stable. And maybe because it goes back to my days playing the DX7. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
There's one right over there.
Is there?
Yeah, of course.
Cartridges.
Yeah.
Expansions?
I do. I have the whole E expansion. Yeah.
But those were great. I remember I never had one because I couldn't afford it, but I would borrow one from a neighbor of mine who played in a reggae band. He used to make so much money. And selling weed, of course. No, just kidding. But the thing I liked about the DX7, and I think that this really went along with the Motif, was Yamaha was super stable. Like you pop that cartridge and the sound would come, for the time right away.
Yeah.
There wasn't stuff crashing and whatever. And for a live situation, that's the thing, a piano. I've been on gigs where the electricity went out in the concert hall.
For sure.
And that's the great thing about having an acoustic piano, because you can keep rolling.
Keep going.
With
You and the singer are going to keep on going. It's so true, man.
And so you want to be as close to stable, I think. That's why I could never imagine triggering stuff off of a laptop unless, I don't know.
We're not tech guys either. I think both of us, we prefer a piano firmly grounded in the earth.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Right. But so, Terry, to kind of try to be somewhat helpful. Yeah. So the keyboards that we use when we have to use keyboards, we both have Nords or use Nords. And then we have both, to sum up, we've both seen in a lot of professional situations, like Robert Glasper uses a Motif. There's nothing wrong with it at all.
Yeah.
And
you can load in any sample into a Motif. At least you used to be able to.
Well, any of these are MIDI. You can do whatever.
Right.
And then the roll-in pianos, I know a lot of professionals who use and love those.
Right.
So.
All right, and don't forget, at the end of the episode, you thought we were going to forget from last week, we're going to give you our actual number one tip about equipment.
Are we really,
Yes,
though?
we are.
Okay.
We did it last time, didn't we?
All right.
I just have to think of it. No, I think I've got one in mind. A nice little thing at the end.
So don't forget, though, to go to oxfordamerican.org/YHI to get your special subscription for $25. That's $25 for 4 of those amazing issues to Quarterly Magazine. It's amazing. It's incredible writing, and it's all about, Southern culture, the roots of the music that we all play.
Yep.
And so what's your number one tip for equipment?
Well, this is
in
the great tradition of Christian McBride, as in we're going to teach you something by telling you what not to do. I'm going to say you're going to want to stay away from a Casio tone.
Oh.
Nothing against Casio tone. But okay, just to be fair, too, there's another company that makes a keyboard that we said was good, was Yamaha. But they make something called the Porta Sound.
Oh, yeah.
That's a little toy. Stay away from that bad boy.
And my tip is to always keep a melodica in your car.
Ah, that's another one. Easy. Flips in your pocket.
That's right, yeah.
Well, till tomorrow.
You'll hear it.